Live from the Motor City, all the way to the Volunteer State. It's time for the Reckless Speculation Podcast, where we recklessly speculate the latest news in the world of sports. From college football to NASCAR, we've got you covered. And don't forget to stick around for the world-famous Bet Your Nuts, where we will give you your best bets to make the most money. Now sit back, grab your favorite drink of choice, and join Robbie Davis, Raj Mehta, Brandon Chain, and Tom Sloan. It's showtime.
Welcome, everyone. It is July the 13th, 2023. We are in officially the dog days of summer. The baseball MLB All-Star game is behind us. But don't you worry. You may think there's nothing to talk about this time of year, but we have got you guys covered. We have some drama in some of the biggest sports arenas. We have the drama at ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. We have the drama in Northwestern, and kind of my favorite is the drama at West Virginia. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what everyone says about these things. Again, I'm Robbie Davis. This is Reckless Speculation. We are coming to you, Michigan to Tennessee. Got some Ohio roots. I was just in Ohio for a wedding, and so that may be some of my final thoughts about Columbus, Ohio. But I won't ruin the surprise. But anyways, before we get started, guys, if you can, drop down, like, subscribe on whatever podcast you're listening to us. We got Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Reckless Speculation. We may even have a Threads coming up soon. We will see. We'll get Tom on that. But thank you guys for joining us and really like and subscribe. We have, about a month left until football season starts to get into it. And so we are really looking forward to the fall, as I know the rest of you guys are. So without further ado, Tom, how are you, my man?
Doing good. Nice Thursday night. The calm before the storm here in Michigan. Got some big boomers coming our way for the next couple of days. So yours truly will be landlocked, we'll say. No boating for me this weekend. But
how do the animals handle the storms?
Oh, Lilo is crazy. She's now more so when she hears the hard rain, the anxiety starts to go. I just wonder if that's not a byproduct of her being out on the run for 16 days earlier this year. She made it through two blizzard-like conditions, and we had a thunderstorm in the middle of the winter. They call it thunder snow. But when she gets home, she hears rain, she freaks out. So she's a big baby. All bark, no bite.
I think, honestly, if you just had like some kind of Twitter, social media of like dogs around the country, you'd be like, hey, my dog's freaked out down in like Southern Alabama. Oh, and Birmingham's freaked out. Oh, there's a storm coming in Chattanooga. Like, we don't need weather people for this. We can just listen to
we need dog people. Heads up, get your dog under cover.
Yeah. My dog, it's called a weather dog. She knows when it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
And on time again. I can't believe it. Raj, welcome.
I thought you were going to say Brandon's on time, but he's pulling a Raj, and he's not even here. So,
no, Brandon's on a nice golf trip this week.
I think he's on hole 19, 20, or 21 at the moment.
Yeah,
he's on vacation.
I think he was playing Whistling Straits this week.
Speaking of dogs,
I mean, that guy, he might as well be a PGA golfer. I'm like, I don't know where he is every week.
He's getting paid like one, and he golfs a lot. So I guess he'd be a live golfer because nobody cares what he does on the course. He's just in warm weather and golfing. No, we actually got a new dog, too, after our Rosie girl passed away.
Oh, nice.
I told my wife that I can't go with her to meet the rescue dog because I'm a firm believer, number one, that I am a whisperer, but number two, with a rescue, if you are the first person to meet the dog is going to adore you. And our other dog is kind of my girl. And while we didn't want to pick sides, this one is a tiny Chihuahua-like dog, and my wife finally has the cuddles. She's been so desperately missing since our little one stopped being 4 years old, even though she tried, and I'm not much of a cuddler. But even though I love her. Yeah, that and just listening to Wu-Tang, Protect Your Neck, which is one of my favorite songs and something that ESPN anchors, the Wu is coming through, should have listened to Protect Your Neck, although some of them didn't have a choice, like Neil Everett. But I digress.
Before we get to that segue, if anyone is listening in Chattanooga, there is a adorable dog named Ernie at McCamey right now.
Oh,
please, someone go adopt him. 2 months old, beautiful. But yes, now we'll get to Roger's segue. So we are in the podcast sports world. We obviously don't. Maybe we one day hope to get picked up by ESPN, but there has been a rumbling, a kind of a little bit of an earthquake at ESPN, and there have been some serious layoffs of people that I was surprised by. But one of the before we get to the individual people, I want to go about what words were said. The president of Disney said, and we know Disney owns ABC, ESPN, but president of Disney said there are no sacred cows at ESPN, meaning everyone can go. Tom, what do you think about that statement?
I think it's very bold, and I think it's a warning sign for anybody at ESPN that their job is on the line. It doesn't matter, and we'll go over the list of victims, we'll call it, that were let go. But it's the state of ESPN right now. I think with them losing the Big Ten to CBS and Peacock, I think that's a huge revenue drop for them, and they're preparing for it. And they have some upcoming talent, we'll say, that will be joining the network in the fall, I believe. That's going to garner a lot of money to pay them. So I think they're preparing the on-air talent that they have remaining for possible layoffs in the future. And they still have continued, as we learned yesterday, that Gene Wojciechowski, the storied game day storyteller, we'll call him, was let go, and that was rather shocking to me. So I think it's a warning sign, and everybody better be prepared that I don't see the end of these layoffs coming anytime soon.
Yeah, and so Raj, I want to take that point and go to you. Gene Wojciechowski's gone. David Pollock's gone. That's two main people of College Game Day, which to me is at least 40% of their weekend show in the fall. I mean, obviously NFL Live. Like, we'll take, for the sake of this conversation, let's take the NFL out of the equation. Like, it's its own animal. ESPN, though, it has a lot of other content it has to support. I think College Game Day is one of its highest rated non-sporting event shows that it has. That's two main pieces out of that. Were you surprised at that? And what do you think about this no sacred cow thing?
Well, first of all, yeah, the sacred cow, I would say that the idiom itself was a blatant reference to Hinduism, among other religions. There's Jewish references as well. I would say that's odd to state publicly. I am offended. Actually, I'm really not, but it's just an odd choice of idioms, like I said. But Disney's not always the most PC company, and they get off on not being that way, which is like basically the norm at this point with them. They think they're funny, but no, I'm, Wojo, a Tennessee alum, right? I think what you can say with ESPN is that a lot of these personalities have aged out, and guys like Pollock are not, they're not. What I can't even think right now. I'm exhausted and have my beverage, but relevant. Jesus, there's another. I was about to say Jesus Christ.
And now I'm offended. Everyone's offended.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure you are. Sure you are. Robbie.
In homage. But they're not relevant anymore. Steve Young, Matt Hasselbeck, all these guys, Keyshawn, Jason Williams, they're not relevant anymore to the younger generation who is watching Sports Center and whatnot. And I don't know if it's a bro stool effect, like where you got to be that guy like Van Pelt. But these guys aren't relevant anymore, and they don't have the talent that, say, a Doris Burke does.
Well, yeah. Hey, Tim, I saw your comment that you heard ESPN was up for sale today. I heard that Bob Iger said that some Disney platforms are up for sale. Did he mention ESPN directly? If you know, please text. Because I've always thought a lot of the ABC properties are going to be up for sale. ESPN, they may spin off. I think Disney's still going to hold on to them. They spend a bunch of money on these live sports. And so
that's a rumor, and it's kind of based upon, they're
Bob
saying
Iger today.
It's based upon TV being a broken, TV itself is a broken model, right? Like daily live TV. And is there a platform for, a daily live show? People find their news in other places. Why can't they find sports via a cheaper media and medium? Well, and I think that's the
point. The point is because Disney owns it all right now. Or Disney owns the majority. So that's the idea. Disney owns essentially own the SEC right now, and so that's going to be kind of what do they do with this platform? Like, they lost the Big Ten, so this is really the arms race between Fox and ESPN. Is they each own essentially AFC, NFC of NFL.
And cut a lot of their high dollar guys, right? The personnel.
And seeing that they are the home of the SEC, so to speak, you cut an SEC guy in Pollock, who was really good in my estimation. So I'm not really sure the direction or why they did certain things. Susie Colbert, she's a mainstay, NFL, one of the original that was on the ESPN's coverage. They let her go, and it's just, I don't know. It's not good news because I did hear in the past that they were pillaging money. This was probably last year, and they were in a lot of trouble. So maybe it's finally caught up to them, and they don't have another choice. Because frankly, Fox Big Noon is really catching up to the stature of Game Day, and I think they made a lot of mistakes.
They're Game Day earlier and earlier. You're right.
They made a lot of mistakes, brought in people that they probably shouldn't. Keeping Lee Corso about 5 years too long. That shark jumped a long time ago. So I think that's a big problem.
I'll push back on that. I know he's awkward to watch and there's things. But, man, him putting the headgear on, that just is college football.
When he says fuck it on live TV, you got to love that, though.
They kept him around for that reason, but literally you can put it on, I was going to say a dog, but
you put it on McAfee.
Like, the poor guy and he's probably the only guy you can do that, and he's paid homage, and I was going to say no one else could really do that per se, but I don't think people would have an issue with McAfee. No, because that's his personality. But right. and I guess that does make sense. But Pollock to me doesn't have immense talent. I think he was a pretty face. And how many people today that love Georgia even know who he is? This bandwagon era. The guy played 20 years ago.
He was
people
great.
Don't even know it. And he dropped weight. He was a monster defensive end. But he's kind of a robot to me. He's a good looking dude, but he's a former player who I think has a grace period.
Well,
all these other guys.
You knew once McAfee came on, someone had to go. And And the rumor is that Herb Street, if they get rid of Corso, Herb Street's leaving too. Like they're like Herb Street thinks that Corso is his father figure, and he's like in Herb Street's doing NFL.
They might as well close up shop if they get rid of Herb Street, because I'm a Michigan guy, but I think Kirk Herbstreit is as good as it gets in college football, and he's very unbiased. That's what I like about him.
All right, so
wait, real quick, you didn't have Neil Everett up there, and that was the one that upset me.
That one just happened. That one just happened. Yeah.
Oh, it did.
It just happened. I think yesterday or today.
That really bummed me out. And yeah, it's obviously that I have emotional attachments. He became an LA guy. He and Stan Verrett started ESPN Los Angeles, the second biggest media market, which basically debuted as a primetime-esque ESPN SportsCenter show for the West Coast. And they were one of the longest running duos in ESPN history since 2009. And Neil Everett became Southern California to me. He was kicked back. He's a deadhead. I love the dude. Dry sense of humor. Clooney-esque, like him getting canned sucks.
Look for him on a podcast.
Also, and he's one of the highest paid dudes. I get it. And very similar to Kenny Mayne, he's too classy to acknowledge. He said there were similarities in what I read. Kenny Mayne was offered a 61% reduction in salary and 14% less airtime to stay with ESPN. And Neil Everett did something similar 2 years ago, and they still cut him. I guess ratings weren't the same. But yeah, man, that one hurt and that one sucked. And I guess that's why I was shocked. I didn't know that. I guess it just happened, but he is ESPN Los Angeles. And I mean, he starts that one really was like an identity crisis for me. I swear. That's
So we've seen some big talent go. So who left, do you guys think? I mean, because we all grew up if you grew up watching sports, you grew up watching ESPN. So who do you think's the most untouchable left? And just real quick, Tom, who do you think?
Chris Fowler.
Yeah, I wowould agree. I mean, Berman still has rights to do what he wants when he wants.
Or Van Pelt.
I think one thing about Van Pelt
is up there too.
He's very broski, bro stool is what I call it, and other people call it. But he's also about to be 50-something, right? You can only do that for so long, says the guy with the flat bill and the buttoned-up collared Orange County shirt. But yeah, I would go with Fowler just because talent is talent. And Van Pelda's references and other guys, they get aged out. But, it's like Doris Burke, like I said, former player who was the Kurt Gowdy recipient from the Basketball Hall of Fame when it comes to Hall of Fame announcers. Just it's ability that still shines when it comes down to it. I like Susie Colbert, but, she was a smile to me, a cherry face. I don't think of journalistic integrity, not that she didn't have integrity when I think of her, though. Same with, like I said, Pollock. Talent and ability still means something, which is nice to know to me.
Y'all won't be shocked. I mean, I think the most untouchable show, PTI, obviously, that dynamic. That's a show that leads to Sports Center for a reason, to get him into Sports Center. I think the talent, though, is one of two people. Greeny, who seems to just have, I don't necessarily like him that much, but he has talent to Reese Davis. I've seen him live on game day in Thompson Bowling Arena. No notes. He's phenomenal as far as working a crowd. He's got super talent.
I'll tell you who the number one
football game day now too.
Oh, Reese Davis is not. Fowler's not doing it.
I think Fowler's done with game day.
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't do it. I think he does it on like huge, like number one versus number two. But otherwise, yeah, Reese Davis really he starts it off at least at 6 a.m. or whatever the hell it is.
To me, the most untouchable hasn't even started his show with the company yet, and
McAfee.
it's Pat McAfee. He is untouchable. He demanded that they broadcast the show on YouTube, and they kind of allowed for it. So I think he's the one, and I believe he is a big reason as to why a lot of these layoffs are coming, because the dollar signs that I've heard that he's getting. I mean, FanDuel was dishing out the cash for him, and for them to outbid FanDuel, they had to clear some space.
Justin Pollockton, spot on, man. Jalen Rose, he just brought up. I love that dude, man. He was hilarious. Super bright guy.
TNT is salivating over that.
I mean, absolutely. Probably aged out from people not knowing who he was, or is rather. He's still alive, thank God.
And real quick,
did you ever see that show that when ESPN tried sketch comedy, which is actually that segment with the bit with Kobe was unbelievable, dude. Like I'm still cracking up over that. It was just ESPN not staying in their lane. But yeah, dude, Jalen Rose is everything. Like, funny, obviously knows the game, played it. He's got the cred. Them letting him go, I think it's just a matter, like you said, of knowing they couldn't afford him for much longer.
He's going to go to TNT, but I think within the next 5 years, you're going to see him backing off of sports. He's got a very, very good school that he runs, the Jalen Rose Academy in Detroit. Yeah. And there are grumblings that he may run for mayor of the city of Detroit. He's got a lot of clout here. So I think you're going to start to see within 5 years him start to kind of shift his business plan elsewhere, and he loves the city. He represents it very well, and I would love to see that happen.
His future is extremely bright, much like the city of Detroit, despite the weather.
All right, so let's go from one, not necessarily a train wreck at ESPN, but at least some reshuffling to what appears to be a train wreck at Northwestern. You have the most successful coach in Northwestern history, probably the face of Northwestern sports. Kind of not. It was happening a little bit over the summer. There was some rumblings. He was suspended for 2 weeks. Then the in-house, the school journalism paper broke the story, broke it open. Which, if anyone follows journalism, the Northwestern School of Journalism is one of the top ones in the country, if not the top.
Mike Greenberg went to school.
Yeah, Greenberg, Wilbon, a bunch of the sports writers you see went there. And then they busted open. Now Fitzgerald's fired. One, I guess, what do y'all make of this? And for it had to be, in my opinion, preface it, these are all allegations, right? We don't have, we are, everything we say is based on allegations of what we know. We don't have any facts, just allegations. I think it must be bad for them to move to fire him. And so, Raj, what do you think about this happening, and how good of a job is this?
Well, Dick Hanley from 1927 to 1934 was technically the most successful Northwestern coach with a .576 winning percentage, compared to Pat Fitzgerald's .521. But
when I asked what you thought of this, I didn't care about the 1950s.
I remember the first part. I cheated on the second. I think it's kind of a sign of the times. Now, Northwestern, for those who don't know, is the only private school in the Big Ten. They kind of like use that to their advantage in the sense like, we don't care about football. Screw it. We're smart. We're private, except when we're good, which is occasional. For decades, though, they didn't, Eric Parsegian, before he went to Notre Dame, some people will know him from Rudy fame. The others would know him from putting Notre Dame on the map with national championships. Not on the map, but you know what I mean. who left because Northwestern didn't dedicate and allocate resources or financial and otherwise. They've never done that. It's been a stepping stone school. Prior to Fitzgerald, they did one former player, I believe, as a coach, Rick Venturi, late 70s. He went 131-1. Fitzgerald, though, won initially. For those who don't know, he was a Cinderella. He's a darling of the school. All-American middle linebacker for the 90s. Hell yeah, dude. Like another thing, dude, is that's my boy Omar, who actually went to Berkeley. You can tell by the beard and everything, and the fact that he smoked weed and did a lot. He's still alive. Love that guy. But anyways, we were on row AA. We're like, sweet, man, it must be the great seats. We were literally touching the field. We could see like the first 3 yards. Everything else was just like 8 foot tall dudes. But anyways, that Northwestern team was number 3 in the country. And, Fitzgerald was the leader of that team. And he, again, Northwestern darling. They beat Michigan 2 years in a row, unfortunately, as Tom knows. Back-to-back Big Ten champions. And like I said, they've never done that. By the way, number 3 Northwestern was an underdog to number 17 USC, and they lost in that Rose Bowl. But Keyshawn went off, who just got fired. Anyways, my original point is he's a former player, right? And one former player got bitter and came out at the number 1 journalism school in the country. So you're not going to withstand that, especially when you've lost 2 years.
Again, allegedly.
And I probably should have just started with that, but being Indian, I have to justify my race and position statistically. But, is this again, it goes to the age old, like, locker room shit should stay within the locker room, right? It only comes out when one guy gets bitter or when you lose 2 years in a row and both of this stuff happened. So suddenly everybody chimes in that didn't care before, right? Like, I'm not going to call this woke because I think that's a clever yet stupid term, but nobody cared about Northwestern football before this. So essentially what happened was they called it Shrekking or the Shrek list, kind of like a run list or something else, but you essentially got humped by other dudes, which sounds not extremely heterosexual, if you will, but many people call it skull fucking, excuse the term. And that's essentially what it was. It was like meant to be a joke and not meant to be public. And that's really what happened and why one guy went public and then another verified out of the 3,000 players that Fitzgerald coached begs the question, right? Like, but suddenly we take those players' words.
I'm going to push back. This wasn't a situation where Northwestern was looking for a reason to fire the guy.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because they still have wealthy boosters and whatnot.
In his
last 2 years were awful.
You don't suspend a guy for 2 weeks for the same allegations if you don't want to fire him.
But why is the rest of the coaching staff still retained?
Well, I think that's going to be race judicata, right? So they're going to try to win the lawsuit that Fitzgerald's going to file. Then if Northwestern wins that, fire the rest of them. It's already been, because you don't want to litigate 45 lawsuits. You want to litigate the main one. Then if you win that one,
you start with the head of the snake.
Then you fire the rest of them, and then hey,
who's the nerd? Using Latin over there. Like, is it coincidence though that it came after a 1-11 season? Why now?
See, I don't like. Again, you don't suspend him for 2 weeks and then fire him a week after that. I don't think.
Why not?
Well, if you
have like protocol, isn't that a good way to do it?
Well, no, because in court, what you're gonna have to prove. What did you find out in these next 2 weeks that changed your opinion?
But they're private. They don't have to prove anything.
No.
This may be a little bit of public. No, I agree what you're saying.
It's not a public. It is a contract issue. So contract. He has a 6-year, 8-year contract. They're trying to fire him for cause. So when you suspend him, there is no cause to fire him. What did you find out that changed to make it become for cause, or else you owe him all that money?
Yeah, you're. Go ahead, Tom.
Well,
Sorry.
It to me, it was when. What was it on?
Because the president
Tuesday
knew all this.
Tuesday, 2 more players came out allegedly, and kind of reaffirmed what the school had already heard, and the school had said they were going to think about changing the punishment, and then 2 hours later they fired him outright. So to me, it sounds like there was a situation where other players, once one came out, more came out, and they just to get ahead of it. And let's not forget, Northwestern's not only dealing with this football situation, they're dealing with the baseball situation too, and they just fired their baseball coach today for the similar situation. So that whole sports department, athletic department is in shambles.
But so from a Northwestern legal department, if a student comes to you and says, "Hey, this is what I saw. 45 students were doing this. I'm telling you, you're on notice," and they say, "Oh, 2-week suspension." Well, just because more people give them notice doesn't change the notice. They were on notice. So they by them suspending him, they said it's not for cause. This is a punishment. Now to fire him, they're in a pickle. Their lawyers are going to come up and be like, "Explain to me how this is different."
Well, could you, by the way, Tim and Rich Jasper were talking about Heartline and Coach O and others rhetorically, because Northwestern would never pay those guys, but they're cracking us up, as well as Easy Speak. But could you define for cause legally? What does for cause look like?
Thank you.
I mean, for cause is intentionally breaking whatever. So like Jeremy Pruitt, for instance, he and his wife allegedly gave players McDonald's bags with cash,
which only came out after you guys started to suck again. Knowingly
breaking the rules. So Tennessee fired him for cause for breaking the rules. So So as soon as they found it out, there was no suspension. Found it out, fired for cause.
But you said knowingly, so with Fitzgerald.
No, breaking the rules.
But that's what I'm saying. What is for cause relative to the Fitzgerald situation? What does?
So if let's take it for let's say, all right. So I put, there's certain things in my contract that I cannot do. I cannot break the NCAA rules. I cannot have inappropriate relations with staff members, a la Bobby Petrino. I cannot pay for players' tattoos, a la Jim Tressel. Those things will get you fired for cause. There's certain things you cannot do. You cannot have players haze other players, allegedly. And so, but
football,
but
that only happens at Northwestern.
But once the employer says that's not a for cause firing, that's a suspension, then that changes the narrative. Then you can't go back and fire him for the same reason and then say it's for cause for violating the contract, because you've already said it's not.
And Rich brought up there are degrees of that. And now they're basically stating that they know that there's more.
All the plaintiff in this case, which would be Fitzpatrick, has to prove you had the same information when you suspended me.
Yeah, and Rich Bright brings up a good point. They claim that he didn't know anything about it, but then they rescind the suspension and fire him. I feel like Fitzgerald has a great case. In this situation, and Northwestern's kind of looking like they may have jumped the gun a little bit too soon.
Yeah, no, I think there was public pressure. They just fired him or suspended him on Friday, fired him on Monday or Tuesday or something like that. Yeah,
Tuesday.
And this was a new president, first summer on the job. I think he just walked into a bad situation. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's Northwestern. They can, what if it's 60 million, 70 million, 8, whatever it is, they can pay it and move on.
Tim, just so you know,
right? They're going to settle.
Just so you know, Tim, our resident Buckeye fan is on the 36th hole right now.
Ohio State fans are so sensitive. I make one tattoo reference. They're all blowing up.
Tim is our new member of the Easy Speak. He's a Buckeye fan.
Tim,
I don't know how.
I started off with the Tennessee McDonald's cash bags. I threw us under the bus first before getting to.
Well, hopefully they took the cheeseburgers out and had them.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I can be all inclusive and add USC giving Reggie Bush a house and rentals, Porsches.
Whoa. That was his stepfather, and it was rent. They didn't give it to him. People do say, like, why did Reggie Bush not care about the NFL? Because he took a pay cut, which I think is
Blake
funny.
Corum.
All right, so okay. So we've gotten all these topics. So yes, no, and maybe 2 cents is why. Raj, I'm starting with you. Northwestern and Urban Meyer. Yes, no, why?
No, unless he wants to redeem his image, but they would never pay the guy. They don't give a shit about football. And how do you fire a guy for hazing when then you bring in a arguably more controversial individual? Then again, like I said, when it comes to image, reinstatement, if you will, no better place than Northwestern. You can't lose there.
Tom, Urban Meyer, yes, no, why?
Absolutely no, with exclamation. They were known as a classy school. I think maybe some chips have fallen the last week, but I still think they're going to operate in the manner that they have for the, how many hundreds of years they've been around. He comes with a lot of baggage and controversy, and Northwestern's going to want to try and rid themselves from as much controversy as they can. And I think if they go after Urban Meyer, that's
so. I just want to make sure I understand this. You're Northwestern. Urban Meyer contacts you and says, "I'll come coach your school for whatever the amount of dollars." You're saying no?
I think Northwestern will bring him in for an interview and kind of see where his head's at. But like we talked in our meeting on Monday, the Netflix documentary of Urban Meyer comes out at the end of this month. And I think that's going to come with a lot of question marks, we'll say, with him. So I don't think they're going to want to go down that route.
I want to agree with you, and I do, and I morally agree with you. But at the same time, if I'm sitting there, in my opinion, the third, maybe second best college football coach of all time wants to come to North freaking Western to coach.
JP's right. I mean, he's got a cush job. He's got to show up 2 days a week. But is Urban Meyer a great coach? Absolutely. Is Urban Meyer one of the biggest trash bags to ever stand on a sideline? 100%. He makes Jim Tressel look like a schoolboy or a churchgoer. So I just don't see that happening.
Look, and JP is right. John Gruden was making what, $10 million at ESPN. He still wanted to go coach. Like, coaches want to coach. Like, especially people at that level. I guess I just want it to happen. But
okay. So, and who comes out today or yesterday that says I'd be interesting? Go Joe. Go Wildcats. Go Wildcats. Yes. So, I mean, there's another trash bag. So, I mean, I think there's dark times ahead for the Northwestern football program because I really don't see them going that route personally.
Well, they're going to have all this Big Ten money. They got big donors. They're going to spend money, but are they going to just kind of retreat into this? Hey, we're going to go back to this good guy. Which, I mean, that was the image they had to all this blue.
Ask Stanford when David Shaw left. I mean, there's a school that's very comparable to Northwestern where academics means something. So it's going to be tough for them. It's going to be really tough for them.
All right, from one fiasco to the other, West Virginia. This one is just more sad to me than the Fitzgerald and the other kind of self-destructive natures. Every one of us that's listening into this show, and probably everyone just in general, has someone or knows someone in their life or 1 or 2 degrees of separation that knows people that have substance abuse problems. And this is a guy who did a really stupid thing and then another stupid thing and another stupid thing. And so we're not going to really talk about that so much. I don't think we have time. But I just want to talk about this contract thing. I'll give you Raj can give you his opinion as an attorney. And then let's start with Raj, then we'll go to Tom, and then I'll kind of give you my follow-up. Raj, what do you make of all this? Like I guess, one, obviously he messed up really badly, and he's oddly enough, though, let me back up. Oddly enough, so we don't have this in Tennessee, and most states don't. Even for this punishment, I think he's eligible for a pretrial diversion, which will keep it off of his record, which is kind of rare in this day and age. So he may go without a conviction. Raj, what do you think about this whole alleged fake or this resignation and alleged fake resignation, this where we stand and these, I don't know if you've seen these attorney letters back and forth, but it's kind of comical.
It really is. And I don't even think I don't know. West Virginia acts like they're just meeting Bob Huggins. Like the guy didn't resign and he says he did. What the fuck do they think? Are they like, he's just gonna be like, oh yeah, I resigned? No, you did resign. No, I didn't. Like, it's gonna become a bigger shit show. And I'm just playing devil's advocate here because this is a very serious matter. But you could say that he's playing the rehab card, right? Like, yeah. So conviction doesn't matter at that point when it comes to the court of public opinion, acknowledging the issue and the problem, which, I mean, must be.
Yeah, no judgment here. I mean, this podcast is the last. Well,
of course.
We don't pass drinking and driving, but we do support drinking, powered by Jack.
Absolutely.
They don't necessarily believe in that, but we're just drinking Jack while we're talking.
0.210, holy shit. And I think everyone that has had a beverage has had a similar, drink Jack, don't drive. I think we've all, personally speaking, I think everyone has had a warning, in life, and you need to learn from it if you can, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Being said, and the guy had a 0.210. As somebody that went to law school at the University of Cincinnati, there certainly was an image and aura of him being untouchable, and this being his alma mater. And Huggins, Huggy Bear, is that guy. He is a bull. He looks like a bull. I can certainly see him. Let's just say this wasn't the first time this happened, in my opinion.
Well, and and just to people that don't know, this has been a history so much that West Virginia employs a private driver for Bob Huggins 24/7.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he has a driver whenever he wants it, wherever he wants to go.
Which, again, I mean, this was historically a backward state. Sorry, West Virginia. Had family in Huntington near Marshall, by the way. But yeah, I just can't believe they're stating like he resigned. No, I didn't. It's a he said, she said, but it's like a playground version. I don't fucking get it, man. I really don't get it.
Well, and Tom, I'll walk you through kind of what I know the situation. Essentially, his longtime attorneys sent in a resignation letter. His wife emailed from her account that he is resigning. He met with the players, said he'll no longer be coaching the basketball team. About 3 or 4 days later, a different attorney sent in a letter saying all those resignations are void because, according to the contract, any kind of resignation had to be, and this I'm paraphrasing, written in writing, signed by him in a certified mail kind of letter to athletic director, something of those kind of terms. And he's saying, I didn't comply with those terms of the contract, thus I cannot have effectively resigned.
Should be a public declaration, really, and none of us knew about his family. I know you're asking Tom, but none of us knew about this family stuff, and until it became an issue. Huggins needs to get on TV and say it, but Tom will have a more insightful, direct perspective. Sorry, Tom.
I personally, I think this is a money grab. I think he's looking for an opportunity to cash in what's left of his contract, threatening to sue, kind of forcing West Virginia's hand. There's no way they bring him back. You want to talk about a trash bag coach? I think that seems to be the temperature of the last segment in this one. This guy also went on the radio a few months ago and made a gay slur on live radio, and not to mention the DJs kind of hammed it up with him after he said it. But so this guy's bad for everything. He's bad for West Virginia. He's bad for college basketball, and he's a crook in my estimation. That he's trying to make it out as like he's the victim. And he's not the victim. 0.2 something. I mean, you're 3-4 rows backstage at a Leonard Skinner concert. JP will know what I'm talking about. You have no business being anywhere near these kids. I would vomit if you walked into my living room trying to recruit my son. I think he's old school. He's bad, and they need to move on from him. And West Virginia, as much as they would love to bring him back, they know they can't. So this is just Bob Huggins playing the victim card here, saying that he didn't resign when he did, and he wants money, and West Virginia is probably going to end up giving it to him.
Yeah, and so I want to be careful to compare two things without comparing the behavior. As most I was at Indiana right after Bobby Knight got fired. Bobby Knight got fired for his.
Did he choke a kid? Didn't he grab a kid?
He got fired for. He actually got fired for. He was walking past the student, and a student said, "What's up, Knight?" And Bobby Knight grabbed the kid by the elbow, and just kind of jerked him up and said, "You'll call me Coach Knight or Mr. Knight. You have to talk to me with respect." And then let him go. But it was the straw that broke the camel's back because Bobby Knight, he did choke a player. He
threw a chair.
He was aggressive. But there was that love affair that Indiana, and still to this day.
Oh yeah,
still go to Indiana, it's still Bobby Knight.
Well, he died a martyr for metaphorically speaking.
Yeah. And Bobby Knight sued Indiana, and Bobby Knight didn't go back to Indiana for 30 years until it. But there's Huggy Bear's not that necessarily on that stage. He didn't win as much as Bobby Knight did, but he's there. I mean, he's up there for West Virginia, sports, and this is going to end badly. and it is a money grab because, your lawyers talk for you, and when they tender your resignation, that's the official resignation. You can try to get on these technicalities. They're going to fight through it from court. Lawyers are going to get paid. Eventually, Huggy will get something to go away and just shut up and just move on.
Yep.
All right, boys. We got some topics to touch on before we leave. MLB All-Star Game was this weekend. I hated the jerseys, hated the hats, hated everything about it. They need to go back to wearing their original jerseys. That's my opinion. But what we saw was
the hats were awesome, dude. The gray ones. Were those just pre-game? I can't remember.
The helmets were terrible. The hats were cool.
Were awful.
Yeah, the
Dodger gray one was slick, man. I thought that was awesome. But I don't remember the in-game hats. That may have been
the helmets.
They were the same. They were the same.
I guess the helmets were terrible and the uniforms were terrible. But nonetheless.
Yeah.
So we were talking on our pre-show meeting about MLB and diversity. In the statistics we looked up in 1991, there was 23% minorities. And then on 2023, we're down to 6.1%. So I guess the question is, what gives, Raj? What do you think's going on that's drop as us in a country becomes more diverse and minorities grow? Why is baseball shrinking? And that's a huge shrinkage number.
It certainly, and this was posed on Twitter. The word displaced was used, but I would say it's been diluted by Central and South American participation, and really, it's much easier when it comes to establishing, quote, academies and whatnot. The Dodgers were the first to do so, and Latin countries, if you will, and Latino rather, and Latin being the same, but politically, governmentally, it's encouraged, and it's such an avenue. And when it comes to America and inner cities and RBI, it's very different. RBI is reviving baseball in inner cities, and the stated goals are academic and teamwork. It's not to put people in Major League Baseball, which initially I believe it was. The bottom line is we can go on and on, especially me. I think baseball has a marketing issue when it comes to African Americans in baseball. But, there are no fields in Compton, and you have countless fields in the DR. And it's just, it goes back to the 70s and 80s. Like I said, it's a topic we'll go into on another day, but MLB had a chance. Equipment, etc. in baseball, it costs money, and it's not a sport that everyone can play this day and age, which is sad.
Yeah. All right, Tom, I'm about to. This is going to be a surprise question because I just thought about it while I was reading these stats and just thinking about what I read over the weekend about the NBA. Is the MLB the next target for the Saudis? Can they come and say, because I know Lookouts players, they get paid trash. And can you take single A, double A, triple A players, and can you say, hey, we'll scoop you guys up. We'll pay you more, and we will compete. I mean, of all the sports leagues, that's got to be the most vulnerable right now, right?
Well, that's a tough one because they're still attached to a major league team. And I don't, in my opinion, I could be wrong, I don't see the Saudis going after team sports. The latest that I have heard, they're going after tennis.
Well, you heard what Adam Silver said over the weekend, didn't you?
No.
So Adam Silver said the Saudis are starting to invest in the NBA teams. We've capped it at, I think it's 5 or 10%. So they're aware of they're coming in, and so they've capped any kind of ownership at 5. I think it's either 5 or 10% of a team.
Maybe team ownerships to that level, and then the owner can turn around and say, "Hey, you can fund our minor leagues development." I think that's a lot of.
This was a loaded question. We haven't talked about this. I just literally came to my mind as we were talking. I was like, so Tim saying he heard the same thing. It's if you're going to take over a sport, or if you're going to challenge a sport,
I agree,
baseball is the one that can do it. That you can do.
I agree 100%, Dad. I think they're in it.
I agree too, Dad.
It's dirty, and not to get too political, but we all know what happened on 9/11 and who funded it. So, and with Jamal Khashoggi recently in the last few years, who was murdered, and who funded that. That's who's involved with this money, and I don't want it anywhere in my sports.
Yeah, we're all
ironically enough
kind of thing. We don't want them. We don't want them anywhere in sports. I'm not advocating this that they should do it. I'm saying that I'm just fearful that this could be an avenue that they could do.
Ironically enough, though, the world, like globally speaking, the biggest media like conglomerates when it comes to sports are baseball based. Liberty Media, who owns the Braves. They get into F1, these global sports, Fenway Sports Group, they own Liverpool or whatnot. You see Americans going and owning soccer franchises, football, if you're British and watching, which I know a family member that is, Foot. But yeah, I guess that's just American money and that ability to expand. And maybe the Saudis are late on the sports tip, if you will, in terms of when it comes to investments. But it isn't like an absolute, other than Stan Kroenke, like, two of the top 5 global sports enterprises are baseball based. And the irony is really overwhelming now that I think about it.
I think if they open the door to the Saudis, I think it's going to curtail the progress that we've seen in baseball. And I just look at all the heat that the PGA's taken and still taking. I watched it on the news today. They're the last couple of days. They're still going after the PGA for kind of selling their souls. So Manfred doesn't want that.
Well, no.
Right? Like they can't touch franchises legally.
Think back,
but golf doesn't have protections.
The PGA didn't want that. The PGA suffered that. Like,
sure.
The Saudi came in and took it. And
it's an issue of talent. You have independent contractors versus franchises.
Right.
Other leagues, USFL and whatnot. The Saudis would essentially in the 4 major sports have to establish a separate league and pay billions and establish infrastructures like minor league systems, like college football, which is essentially a minor league feeder to football. And that's not going to happen. Golf was ripe for the taking, if you will. And so in that sense, I don't see anything else being subject to acquisition unless it's on a league basis. Could they buy the whole league? Hell yeah, they could.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for something, right? So they're looking for it, and yeah, like let's say you say you bought, you're the Saudis, you buy so and so, whatever team you buy, or you buy the whole AAA team. Shohei Ohtani's coming up with free agency. Well, they can give him $1 billion a year.
That everybody, but you get involved with that, you might as well. Every other MLB team might as well just fold because you're not going to compete. If you're throwing $1 billion at Shohei Ohtani,
what they'll do, it's the same thing they do with golf. They will just merge. They have to merge. You don't have to. That's what they want.
It works in that. It works in that situation, like Raj said, because each golfer, in a sense, is an independent contractor. They are their own franchise. So they can do that. They offer the more financial gain doing it that way. But to come in and try to get full ownership of an entire organization.
Well, it would be interesting, and this is something that during the dog days of summer, maybe we'll look at this. It'd be interesting. What if a player breaches the contract and says, because so for instance, Tom, you'll remember Barry Sanders said, I'm retiring. I'm not playing for the Lions anymore.
10 years.
Well, so he couldn't go to any NFL team, but his contract's not written to where he can't play for an overseas team.
No, I mean, he couldn't play for any team in the NFL.
Right. So you could essentially say, hey, I'm coming in this $30 billion league. I'm blowing every one of you break your contracts. Your contracts just say you can't compete with NFL. You can all come over here and play.
Robbie loves loopholes. Good attorneys do. Theoretically, yes, he could. He doesn't. He does. Obviously, he's not going to want to play. Nor would anybody watch. Barry Sanders. I mean, just using him as an example, was a video game-esque, Tecmo Bowl-esque in the NFL. Imagine watching him somewhere else. Well, then again, maybe I would watch, but he would get bored. But no, I mean, your point remains, and yeah, there's nothing stopping them per se enticing a player, but is that sustainable? No.
I mean, but Raj is correct. I have a whole whiteboard in my office where I just see how can you get out of this situation? How can this contract be beat? How can we get out of this thing?
You think that way when it comes to life. And poor Allison, ironically, probably thinks the same. But,
all right, boys. Let's go to we've committed this summer to our misunderstood topic. Of course, we got to skip NASCAR again, you bastards. But so misunderstood's a little bit about what we feel in life is just kind of things that guys don't talk about. Guys try to be tough. Guys try to be,
you're man enough to be vulnerable.
You just kind of, you just do it. So, and especially in these last, 3 years now, we're almost 4 years into COVID. We've all had our careers kind of upended. Things change. We've had to adapt and things like that. So we want to talk about is kind of career stuff and, hitting a wall in your career and how do you handle that? And is it okay to just get to a point and be happy or be satisfied or happy, satisfied? Or do you always have to keep going more? What do you do when you hit that wall at work? Raj, I'll start with you.
Wow. I mean, when I saw that topic, for those that don't know, I left law and I'm in medical sales, and sales is the essence of that. You get out of it what you put into it. And, after 15 years, and sometimes it's just like everyone else, right? It's the same thing. And there are different factors that affect motivation, whether it be leadership or otherwise. Sometimes just financially motivated. Other times, the irony for us is like when you're doing well, it's more motivating, and you're not, it's kind of depressing, literally and figuratively. So it's something that I think about right now, and I'm curious to hear you guys and your thoughts. Certainly willing to discuss if anybody ever wants to talk about it. That's my way of saying if I had an answer, then I would state as much, but I don't, and I'd absolutely discuss it. Tom?
Well, I think for me, it all depends on what stage you are in life. If you're young and hungry, you want to go after that money, then you keep pushing through some of the battles that you might be facing, some of the issues at work. Maybe your boss talks to you disrespectfully, and you've made some mistakes or whatever the situation is. But you're kind of driven by that dollar, and I think for my situation, I spent almost 25 years in the steel industry, and I worked with JP for many years. That was the case with me. It was the ability to make as much money as I could. Like you said, you get out what you put in. It was hours, 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 but I wasn't experiencing life outside of the walls of the steel plant. So it became almost like a nuisance to me. So you get in to a situation. I've had a couple failed marriages. I get into a situation where I'm with somebody that is nothing like what I've experienced in life thus far. Now my priorities change. I have the house, I have the car, but I don't have me. I don't have what makes me happy. So I
Do you
start
think
questioning. Go ahead.
And I'm asking you in for many, and friends of mine have stated this, is there truth in settling and the consistency of that like if you settle for your position and state there and literally settle, and perhaps do the same with marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Do you just kind of think for a lot of phases in life, is it sort of a pervasive behavior that, like, yeah, man, I mean, I guess it is what it is, the best I can do? Is that something that can translate between like parts of your life?
Comfort. That is the word I will use. You become comfortable with the daily issue. You're used to, what you have to do day in and day out. You know what to expect. There's no surprises. So people get
kind of the same.
People get
And that's
complacent.
regional as well, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, for my situation, COVID was kind of an awakening. It made me realize what it's like to have somebody that A, cared about me, B, supported me, was my teammate, and C, I got to experience what life outside of those walls were. So having that support that Christina gave me, she pushed me for 8 months. Don't get me wrong. She pushed me for 8 months in my pride, which we'll talk about in another segment down the road. Pride got in the way with me. Once I was able to swallow my pride, because I looked at it as, well, I make this much money and I'm providing. But once I realized that she was willing to step up and be the provider, and I swallowed my pride, and I realized that this wasn't good for my health, it was an easy decision. And I've been out of the steel industry for it'll be 3 years coming up next month, and I took a massive pay cut, but I didn't care at that point because it was where I was at in life at that very particular moment that made me realize it was the best decision I ever made.
Yeah. So in preparing for this segment, I was thinking about words and how words matter. And I'm a huge House Hunter nerd, and so I watch House Hunter a lot. And what I'm getting to is, I was watching a lot the other night, like there's nothing going on, and I kept noticing they go into the primary bedroom and the primary bathroom, and I'm thinking, they're not saying master bedroom and master bath for the connotation of master. And so I was like, so words matter. And so I'm thinking, and it's talking about career and walls, and you're like, oh, you have 2 weeks vacation or 3 weeks vacation. Well, that's a connotation that you need to take vacation. You need to be doing something. No, you need 3 weeks time off. Don't feel pressured to go somewhere or spend money on your time away from your work. Just, hey, 3 weeks time off, whatever it is, time off. Don't call it vacation time, because that means, if you're not taking vacation, I'm a failure. And it's just these small little changes that can help boost morale. And so that's one thing I took away from it. And as far as my career, we all go through ebbs and flows. And as y'all know, I'm a personal injury attorney, so I'm fighting insurance companies every day. They got endless money, and you hit walls and you hit walls and you hit walls. And that's what I'm saying. Like, and I was saying to myself, yeah, don't take a vacation every time. I don't have to go to the beach. Like, just take a time off and just work on the house and just do things that, like, I can cut my phone off at home. I don't have to go to Florida or North Carolina or somewhere to take my phone off. It's all about personal boundaries. I think it's how you should handle it. And like, because an email doesn't really matter a week from now as it does today. They can wait, just like I'd wait for them if I sent them that email. And I think it's kind of just different point of views. Like, if you send someone an email, they don't answer you for a week. I mean, hey, I'm waiting on them to respond. They're doing the same thing on the other end. So just, I think everyone take a step back, calm down, and stop competing in work and just start competing in life. Have a happier life.
I think that's a great statement. And social media is good for this. Even though we broadcast through social media, it's a great tool. I think it's also a diversion, so to speak. People see other people and what they have, and it kind of brings them down, and they lose focus on really what matters and is self-happiness.
And then
I'm going to quickly paraphrase, which is not an original thought, but a movie I love, Office Space, where Jennifer Aniston says, most people don't love their jobs, but they find a job that allows for them to like their life. And that's really what I've lived by and why I left law. I think that's paramount. And Tom can relate to that. There's no doubt. And many others can. But you have to be fortunate enough to be in a position to do so. For many, it's not the case.
Well, Raj, we're in the same boat. How many times in your life have you got asked by somebody, should I go to law school?
Not many. I'm Indian, right? So I was going to be a doctor. It was my intended profession. But yes.
No. I mean, how do you ask you about should they go to law school?
Oh God. Yeah.
And what do you always say? No.
Certainly.
Yeah.
To me, that's a catch-all, right? It's a settlement. You can do any major and go to law school. You just take the LSAT, which is kind of a metaphor for life. But yeah, I say not if you value happiness, because it's not worth your money.
Yeah.
There you go. You're right. Well done.
Most people I know that practice law hate themselves and hate life. So let's get to the other main topic we want to touch on. This is an all guys podcast. And then there's, there is one of these things.
All guys on the panel. We'll preface that. Not only guys viewers. So we hope that there's women out there watching.
We're not exclusive.
But this is one of the things that I don't care if you admit it or you don't admit it. It comes through your head. What if my significant other, the person in my house, makes more money than me? How does that make you feel? I've been there before. I think everyone on here has been there before.
Oh yeah.
I'll start. It is both makes you feel happy, proud, and also a little insecure. Because yes, the money's great. I'm proud of her for making this much money. But also it's like, what am I doing? And the question becomes, well, one, I guess, did y'all feel the same way, or are my feelings unique?
Well, I'll start. I'm living it right now. And it was the biggest thing that the biggest hill I had to get over was the fact that I'm leaving my job. I did not have a backup plan. I just quit. I didn't get another job for 5 months.
Yeah.
But once I got over that aura of being your wife is the breadwinner, I was okay with it, because it told me that she had so much faith and trust in me as a human, as her husband, that she was willing to say, hey, I'm going to support this family. You have done your, I'm not going to say duty. You have done it so far, so many years. You need to focus and concentrate on your life, on your mental health. And by doing so, that means you're going to take a step back and I'm going to take a step forward. So I don't have a problem with it. We have kind of a joke we say between each other. I provided the house. Now she pays for it. So it's just a joke. But I just think that's means your relationship is special and you believe in each other. And I don't have a problem with it. Because I look at it as now this is a unit, we're a team, and this is the best situation that we're in to make this team successful. And you swallow your pride, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
Once you do that, it's a breeze.
Well, and I don't even know if it's swallowing.
Is it a double standard though? Like when you say swallow your pride, do women feel the same way, right? Like why?
Well, I mean, I think if they're career orientated and they've gone to college for a career and my wife was in the mortgage business for quite some time, and she's almost got a PhD. She's a brilliant. I don't know why she's with me, but that's a whole nother story.
I don't know why she's with me.
But for years and years and years, she didn't have a position that allowed her to use her degree. She finally has that. So I could see where it would be difficult for some people, some women who've gone down that road of college and trying to get their career off and running, and it just doesn't happen. So, I mean, I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I personally thought, I mean, that's it's a decade-long discussion, maternity, blah, 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 blah. I was stoked when my wife was like, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. I met her in law school, I'm fucking stoked when, she carried us for a while when I made the transition. And, even though eventually in sales, sales is a job, not a career. You could lose half your income tomorrow. And when she carried us, yeah, I mean, I do make more now, but I was like fucking proudly a gold digger. Like, fuck yeah, dude. I'm a trophy husband, dude. Like, and I looked more like it when I was younger. I was stoked on it, dude. I think it was more like, hell yeah, dude, that speaks to my game. So I guess it's all like anything in life, perspective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm different than many others, but I know many that you could say that I mean, I know people that were threatened by that prospect of their wife, and prospect being the key word, man. You should not be threatened. I think it's fucking awesome.
And it goes to the whole point of the segment. Men have issues with speaking out and really explaining, their true feelings, and seeing other men that have been down that road where they're not the breadwinner, and it's okay. Life is good. I think that will help other people realize that maybe they're onto something here. And that's the whole premise of this segment.
Yeah. And I'll say, my wife and I are open about our salary, our income, what we do with our expenses for the most part. But we keep separate bank accounts. Keep our finances are completely separate. Are y'all that way? Are y'all different?
We keep separate. That we have a joint that we both contribute to proportionately, but then we have a account individually where we don't ask questions, because that's the number one cause for divorce is money. And like, even though the UPS guy shows up way too fucking much.
Wait, you're not trying to get divorced?
Well, not now that I make more money, but
what about you guys, Tom? You don't have to talk to her if you don't want to.
We have a joint account, and all our money is shared. One of the things that did happen, unfortunately, when I did leave the steel industry is, and when she was in the mortgage industry, it kind of crashed, and such did our income. So it set us back a little bit. So I think that's the goal, to be able to have each other have, like Raj, like an independent account, to where, no questions asked. You have your fun money and whatnot, but And those are
been done, dude.
Those are conversations that you have to be real about. Like, listen, this is, this is a concern, and there's a good chance that this could happen, and how are we going to manage if and when it does, and if you can get through that, that makes your relationship stronger. 2 years of COVID, we both work from home. We are around each other 24/7, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
When we're not together, it doesn't feel right, and when I do have to go into the office, it sucks because it throws off my routine. But that is the goal. Currently, no, we share a bank account, and we're very transparent.
Yeah.
Even if it's $5, we do not do it unless the other person knows.
And I'll tell you why. So we had a joint account, and we put money in there every month, and we were saving up to go to the Brazil World Cup in 2014. And I'll be damned if we didn't buy a house instead. And I said, that's the last time I'm letting you manage my money. I don't need a house. I need to go to the World Cup in Brazil.
She made the right choice.
I had friends that went to that, but they weren't dumb enough to be married when they went.
Yeah. Well, that was my first mistake, married.
Well, I was married then too. So.
Whoa! I think Allison will have a conversation with you after the show.
She definitely doesn't listen at the 121 mark.
Yeah,
she did try. She did like the show. So
yeah. All right, boys. Good misunderstood segment. Now, if the people are still with us, we got to get them some money.
It's time for Bet Your Nuts.
All right. It is time. I'll tell you what. Tom won. Was it last week you picked Ricky Fowler? Or was that 2 weeks ago? Oh, we were all.
It was our last show. Yep.
Last show. Tom gave you guys Ricky Fowler. So hope you got it. He and Brandon both got you double bet your nuts. Hope everyone bet it. Free money.
Yeah, when was his last win before that? Like in that.
It was a while ago.
Like 4 years ago or some shit. Like,
I think so.
We apologize. We were off last week for the holiday and the weird schedule. Well, Tom, on a hot streak, you want to go first?
Well, obviously, there's not much going on in the world of sports. My NASCAR picks have kind of plateaued or hit the wall, we'll say, or in Chicagoland, they hit a pile of tires and couldn't get out, like Tyler, whatever his name is.
Reddick,
yep. So I'm going to go with a future bet. And Raj, I think you're going to like this one. I'm going USC plus 600 to go undefeated in the regular season this year.
Wow.
I'll be your bookie on that bet.
Yep. I looked at that schedule, and they go to Oregon and they go to USC, which, Raj, I hope you're going to be at that game. We need to figure that out. They play Utah at home.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So Caleb Williams is going for back-to-back Heismans. I think that's a bet that you could make some money on, and I like it. Plus 600 USC to go undefeated in the upcoming college football season. That's regular season. That doesn't include the college football playoffs if they make it.
Understandable. The flip side is, the conference is as tough as it's been in a long time, which is relative. But yeah, he's right. They get Washington at home, UCLA at home, Utah at home, up and coming Arizona at home, Stanford their nemesis.
For your breakdown, Raj.
But what I'm saying is that's not a bad bet, but like I know SC
and another draft class of Lincoln Riley, and he's got a great track record. So
the defense is, anyways, you got the best player in college football. not a bad bet at plus 900. You said that's a good call. 600.
Plus 6, yeah.
Still a good call, dude. I'll lay it down.
All right, you take the same bet?
Yeah. No, because it's my team and I don't believe in mojo. But
I'll be your bookie too, Raj, if you want me to.
No, I don't. I'm a Black Widow, so no, I don't bet on any of my teams. Actually, my bet your nuts is against my team, which is a nice segue, which is the Dodgers tomorrow night against Verlander in New York. The Mets are doing well aside from the series at San Diego. Verlander's gone 6-7 his last 2 times. The Dodgers with Urias are minus 125 in baseball. Basically, a push them, even though they're the road team. I'll take the Mets after the break at home. I can't trust the Dodgers. They're still injury affected. And I think the bet is Verlander and the Mets, only because Verlander's going to go at least 7 or 8 because he's had the break.
All right. I want to apologize to our audience for the last few weeks of my bets. It's not been off to a good start.
Kyle Larson.
This
few weeks, few years.
This was an extra topic that we couldn't get in tonight. NASCAR's been a disaster these last 2 weeks with just a shortened race in Chicago because there were no lights. Like, come on. And then last week, I had Blaney at 10-1. He had the best car. And then they called it because of rain. Someone just outpitted the maneuver. Byron won. So 2 shortened races the last 2 weeks have cost us from winning money. I've got you now, guys, though. This will be a 10% payback guarantee. If you bet because of this show and I don't win you money, send me your ticket and I'll pay you that 10% back.
Oh, you heard it here, folks.
Yeah.
So
you heard it here.
I'm going in New Hampshire. It's a 300-mile track. Kevin Harvick at 10-1. He has won 3 of the last 6 years, starting from 14, 14, and 19. He's good anywhere you get him in the track. It's his last year race, and this is the track he's gonna win. He's going on this one. So, again with your 10% guarantee, get cash back. Double your bet, get rich. You have Kevin Harvick taking the checkered flag in New Hampshire.
Man, I might have to take that 10% guarantee.
I said to our listeners, not our podcasters.
Well, I'm listening, and I'll listen to it on the platforms.
All right. So you have to give me your picture. You have to send it to at Reckless Speculation 1 on Twitter. Is that right?
At Reckless Specule.
All right. One of these, you have to send it on one of these podcasts on the show, but I'll read them if you're listening to it. Reckless Speculation Podcast on Facebook, at Reckless Speculation Pod 1 on TikTok, at Reckless Speculu. So
Specule. Stop it.
Yeah.
You're listening to it, crap, dude. I know at least 1,000 people based on the numbers that are listening.
And then at Reckless Speculation on YouTube. And so any of those you send your bet in, you will qualify.
Well, I know Tim's going to do that for sure.
All right. So that being said, let's go to our final thoughts.
Oh, why was Chain's face there?
All right, boys. It's the middle of summer, and I'll tell you what. I was expecting a quick show tonight. We're at an hour and a half. It's amazing how much we can talk about things in the middle of nothing going on. Raj, what are your final thoughts?
For once, I'll be quick. Great whites are highly prevalent in Southern California and other parts of the world, solely due to climate change and food sources moving to basically they're getting closer and closer to shore. Sharks think that we taste like shit, that we're bony and there's no flesh, so don't worry about it. But if you want proof of like shit changing in the world and like the environment and the ecosystem, then just look at that, dude. It's a trip. I'm not scared as someone who grew up on the beaches there and used to surf a lot when I lived there. It's kind of hard now, but yeah, I mean, what further proof do you need?
Yeah, it's real and it's coming. I saw an article where how long can people live in the Southwest? Tom, what are your final words?
Kind of to feed off what Raj is saying, side note, water temperatures in Key West, Florida, 98 degrees. The coral reef is going to start basically melting. So that's a huge issue. We're talking about aquatics, but I know this isn't a political. This isn't a political show, and we never are going to go down that road. But there was a decision that was made in the Supreme Court last week that basically said that you could go ahead and discriminate in so many words, just to paraphrase. We had a situation the other day here in Traverse City, which is right there. Very, very nice community. Well, this woman took it upon herself to say she will no longer support LGBTQ communities. If you don't see yourself as man or woman, you go to a pet groomer. And it created an absolute hailstorm of controversy. She has lost her supplier. Her business is closed temporarily, which will probably end up being closed permanently.
Is her name Marjorie?
Her name is Christine Geiger. Studio 8 Hair Lab in Traverse City. And even though the Supreme Court made their rulings, there's a state law in the state of Michigan that says it is against the law to discriminate based upon someone's sexual orientation. So she's in the find out phase of her fucking fuck around, finding out. It's just a byproduct of bad legislation, bad rules that are opening the door to a lot of things that people are going to be going through a lot of things. And I'm an ally. Some of my best friends are in the LGBTQ community, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I just think it's disgusting that people say the things they do about them. They're the most harmless people that I've ever met. And I'm just glad to see the outpouring that has happened around this country. It went viral quick. And like I said, she's finding out the ramifications that words matter. And I hope one day we get to a place where we can all just unite and we can all see people for who they are, human beings. I don't care what color you are. I don't care who you love. That's your choice as an American. As the freedom of the ability to do whatever we want per the Constitution. Let them be who they are. Leave them alone. And I'm just glad that people care enough to do what they're doing. And they protested hard up there. The city of Traverse City mayor said, we're not going to stand for it. The state of Michigan is investigating. So she's going to get her day. She's finding out right now. So
life is short, man. Why do people bother to spend their time hating? I have no fucking idea. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
Well, those were two hard things to follow.
You never want to follow Tom, dude.
I'll just keep it at this, and I'll kind of elaborate on what Tom said. It's apparent that the Supreme Court is going to legislate from the bench. And so there's no check for that.
What does that mean? Tell the people.
Yeah, so essentially what that means is I don't want to get I'll try to be as brief as possible. Congress makes laws, the Supreme Court interprets the laws, and the executive branch enforces the laws to the Justice Department. Well, what's happened is Congress makes laws now. They've made laws in the past. Now you can cherry pick your federal judge, so you can file if you want to be liberal, you can file in, say, LA County and file and get a federal judge, and then it goes up to that thing. Or if you want to be conservative, you can file in Texas and go up through that bracket. Eventually, the Supreme Court is going to say, this is our ruling, and boom. Thus, in Congress being gridlocked, can't pass anything to supersede them. So now the judicial branch is the legislative branch now. So they have legislated abortion, they have legislated affirmative action, they've legislated.
Which is why presidents matter and when judges die matters.
Yes, 100%. And so what the problem is, so now this was important about what Tom said, local governments and local people. You can say it's legal for me to do that, and that's fine, but you don't have to support those people. You can turn your back and spend your dollars elsewhere.
Yep.
And then we can do a whole other topic on that. But yeah, final thoughts are, look, guys, on the political nature, we're all more similar than we are different. I've said it over and over and over again. We're here to do a sports show, but we're also here to talk about life and politics. And if you guys ever have a legal question or any kind of question y'all want us to talk about, please, again, the same, send us messages. We're open for ideas. If you want us to talk about anything, we're happy to add it to the show. We're just, we do this for fun. We do this for entertainment, but also if we can help one person, that's all we want.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So thank you guys. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe. We'll be back next week. Probably about the same. This is the 20th next week. If our schedules work out, Brandon may be back if he's done with his golf trip. Who knows? But thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Tom, Raj, thank you for being here. Reckless Speculation, signing off.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Reckless Speculation. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube searching Reckless Speculation. Catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right here next week with another exciting episode of Reckless Speculation.